everyone, welcome to 2023 and my project life. This year I'm going to be using a faux leather Studio Calico 9x12 album that has been sitting in my Kallax unit for a few years now. And unfortunately it's got this little bubble on the cover, and if you know how to fix this, let me know. As you can see, this album came with some pocket pages. I believe it's 8, and it has a couple of each different type, which are the whole page 9x12, the one with 6x4 pockets and 3x4 pockets, the ones that have only 3x4 pockets, and then ones that I believe are 3x3 pockets. Today I'm going to be using a couple of the ones with the 3x4 pockets and one of the whole page ones. And I haven't done a cover page yet for this album, but I do want it to be in the full 9x12 size. I printed out my photos mainly on a Canon Pixma Pro 100, and the paper I used here was the Canon Photo Paper Pro Luster, and the size is 13 by 19 inches. I opted for the scissors instead of the X-Acto knife to cut this in half, as I was afraid I would mess it up somehow and had to reprint it. This is the Fiskars Precision Rotary Trimmer, and I used it to cut down the photos to size. These smaller photos are 6 by 8 inches each. Some of my family was visiting for the holidays, and we took a train to Paris on New Year's Day. Our plan after checking into the hotel was to check out one of the Christmas markets. On our way there, we went by Place, I'm probably gonna butcher this, Place Vendôme, which is right where the Ritz Hotel is, and stores like Chanel, Louis Vuitton, etc. And it was beautifully decorated, so we had to make sure that we got some photos. I put this New Year's Eve layout together in Canva. We hosted a game night to bring in 2023, and we had a few friends come over. After midnight, we went outside to light up some sparklers and to see our neighbors' fireworks. Unfortunately, at this point, I still haven't received my Studio Calico January kit, so I might put some of the ephemera from the kit after it arrives, like the little disco ball, but we will see once I actually get it. I put the photos in their pocket, but this isn't necessarily their final destination. I changed my mind a lot in regards to what's gonna go where, and what I was aiming to have is one layout per day, except for our first full day there because we went shopping most of the day, so I didn't take a lot of photos then. I purchased some A5 zip pouches from Amazon, and I put my ephemera from trips in each one along with the place that we went to and the month and year that we did. That way it keeps everything together, and when I'm ready to document it, I bring it out and decide what I'm gonna do with it. So after I put all the photos in their pockets, I didn't feel like there was a lot of space for the ephemera, so what I wanted to do was utilize a 6 by 8 pocket page that has the 2 by 2 pockets and put them in there. I really liked the map that we got from the hotel because it had large icons of the landmarks, and I wanted it to be sturdy, so I thought adhering it to the back of the welcome card would be perfect. I checked to make sure there wasn't anything I wanted to use on the back of the map, and then I carefully took off the cardstock covers. I trimmed the map down a little bit further, so I decided what I could do without. I used the advanced tape glider to adhere the map onto the back of the welcome card, and then I trimmed the excess off. Since we had photos from a lot of those different places, what I decided to do was print some of the photos on the Instax printer. I did one test print to see if I liked the size of it and how it fit on the map, and I decided to go ahead and print the rest of the photos that I wanted for this section. So what happens to a bunch of us is that we're going along crafting, you're in the groove, and all of a sudden you look up and you realize that your camera has stopped recording, and you didn't even realize because it doesn't make a sound. So what you missed here was me printing out all the Instax photos, arranging them on the map, cutting out the ephemera to fit in the 2 by 2 pockets, or at least try to see how they could fit. And that is where we are right now, trying to figure out what we're gonna put in these pockets and where. What I kept was the Bienvenue à la Maison from the map, as well as the hotel logo. The tickets for the hop on, hop off bus and river cruise, it was actually a combo that we decided to purchase. The little round card from the restaurant, two of the transit tickets that I pinned together, and the logo for the shops at the Louvre. The circle card was too big for the pocket, so I pulled out my Hero Arts circle dies and the Sizzix Big Shot, which is a manual cutting machine. I checked the size of the pocket against the dies that I have, and I select one that I think will be the best fit. I grab a little piece of washi tape to keep the die in place when I'm gonna put it through the cutting machine. The metal dies and what you want to cut are sandwiched on some boards that come with any cutting machine. However, I got this black magic mat from scrapbook.com, which is a self-healing mat. You put the die facing down, and this way the clear cutting mat doesn't get cut up like mine did, because the machine comes with two of those clear plastic ones. So one of them, actually I think both of them are all cut up. I hope you guys don't mind that I'm going a little bit slower today and trying to explain more things. I got some feedback from my mom when she was here. She said that I speak too fast and she wanted a little bit more explanations of what I'm doing. I was gonna cut out this part, but I decided that I would explain my thought process on moving things around. Some items are bigger than their 2x2 pocket, and if I could trim them down, I would. But for example, the tickets were all too big, and I wanted to make sure I could display them without blocking something else. At this point, I'm liking the transit tickets in the middle, and I moved the circle down so that it would be symmetrical on both sides of the tickets. I didn't have any more small ephemera, so what I was thinking of was using my stamps and stamping them onto the empty pockets. But stamping with StazOn ink is a little bit dangerous, and I thought Vellum would be a better choice, especially because it's still a little bit translucent, so you can see some of the stuff from behind it, but you can see the stamped image a lot better. Normally I use a stamping platform, but you can see the excitement there when the image came out perfectly. These are brand new stamps, so I am priming them using Versamark ink, and then I'm stamping them on something else, and then I'm going and inking them with the StazOn ink. And the reason I'm using StazOn ink is because it will actually dry a lot faster on Vellum. Before I cover it up, this stamp set right here is the only one that's still available for purchase. It's Studio Calico Paris. For the metro icon, I'm just going to cut the vellum in the shape of a circle. For the Eiffel Tower, I thought it would be great as a square, and I wanted it to be the title for the page. So instead, I moved the Bienvenue à la Maison over to the right side, and I put the Paris on the left side. The little Eiffel Tower and this Louvre stamp are both from Paper Person, and unfortunately they're sold out. This next stamp set is from Lora by Lora, and I just stamped the outline of the places higher up on the square so that I would be able to see it without the tickets really blocking it. Lora by Lora stamp set is really old, so you may still be able to find it and have a better chance of finding it in Europe. I added a little bit of adhesive to the tickets, between the tickets and just on the back of the tickets, as well as these pieces, because I didn't want them to move around in the pockets too much. Before we move on, I gotta mention that I didn't finish recording my audio before, and now I have allergies, so I apologize for the stuffy nose, and I just wanted to get this out there, so I hope you guys don't mind. These are the photos from our first afternoon/evening in Paris, and for the journaling, I printed directly onto the cards. This card, Winter Favorites, is from Paper Person, but I'm not sure which kit it's from. I feel like it might be an older one. I used the Heidi Swapp Roller Date stamp, which is the new one, the handwritten one, and the ink I used was the Power Suit by Studio Calico. The travel story cards are from Ali Edwards. I believe it's a 2019 travel collection. And because these are the first two stories, I'm actually using Tiny Little Tags by Studio Calico. They are from the Seaside Documenter kit, but you can also buy them separately. I used the Tombow permanent mono adhesive to add them onto the cards, and I actually like that they are sticking out of the pocket a little bit. Right now I'm leaving a blank space for the Paris trip title card, and then the first travel story is about our trip over to Paris, and then one of the pictures that I wanted more close-up detail of, and then the Winter Favorites card, I'm talking about the Christmas market, and then finally for story number 2, I'm talking about how we went to see the Eiffel Tower and take tons of pictures. This spread has our photos from a sightseeing day, which was actually our 3rd day in Paris. Like I said earlier, our 2nd day in Paris we spent mostly shopping, and the only picture that I wanted to use for that was the picture of the escargot escargots. This was officially our sightseeing day, and so I brought my nice camera with me. Unfortunately, it's really heavy, so there was only going to be one day when I actually brought it. We did the hop-on, hop-off bus, so we stopped at the Louvre, Notre Dame. From there, we walked to the Pantheon and then over to the Emily in Paris neighborhood, I guess you could say, where her apartment building is, Gabrielle's restaurant, and the little bakery that she goes to in the first season. So obviously I took a lot of photos, and the way that I decided which ones I was going to use in the layout is that I wanted a solo picture for each, my dad, my brother, and my niece, and then I did a couple of shots that had more than one person in them. I decided to put the photo of the escargots on the top left because we went on the second evening there. I also wanted to use the coaster since it had the restaurant's name on it, and if you've seen my videos before, you may have seen that I like to put customized coasters in my spreads, but not the generic ones with like a beer name on them. So I took the measurements of the diameter of the coaster and drew a couple of circles in Photoshop using the dimensions, and I played around with how big I wanted the text circle to be, and then I changed the circle from a shape to a text box. I cut the circle using one of the dies, and then I added a bit of the cement ink on the edges so there wasn't such a stark difference between the white cardstock and the black coaster. After adhering the journaling to the coaster, I marked the area where I will be wanting to punch a hole, and I used the smallest setting on the We Are Memory Keepers multi-punch. I then marked the spot to punch on the photo. The photo is going to go on the pocket, and the coaster will be a flip up, and I will attach them using a Tim Holtz loop pin. I almost forgot to add the date, and again I'm using the Heidi Swap roller date stamp. Once I put the photo in the pocket, I realized that I'm going to need to punch a little hole in the page protector to make it flip a little bit easier. So I left the photo in the pocket and just poked the pin through the plastic and then added the coaster. I realized that I had stamped the wrong date on the journal card, so I went searching for a label that would work to cover it up. I tried a green one, but I ultimately went with a pink label from Sadie Stickers, which is super old, but I liked that it was pink, and I had other journal cards with pink on the opposing spread, so I really liked that one best. I didn't point this out earlier, but the Love This City stamp is from Studio Calico's 4x6 Wanderlust by Paisley Press stamp set, which is sold out. On Wednesday, which was our last full day in Paris, we had tickets for the Louvre. I stamped the date on the journal card. The black one from the previous spread and this pink one are from Ali Edwards' 2019 travel collection. The pink one was actually a 4x6 that I cut in half, and you'll see the other half in a minute. And since I didn't use the pyramid stamp from before, I'm using it here to add a little something to an otherwise plain card. I really thought about the positioning of the stamp, and I decided to go with the right side because the point of the pyramid was off to the right as well. The card is a little too big for the pocket, so I trimmed a little bit on each side. I usually don't like to have a journal card right below another journal card, so I moved the photo to the middle pocket. I stamped a little croissant from Laura by Laura on the journaling card, added the date and some stars from the Wanderlust stamp set. That card was about the breakfast that we had on the last day there. And for the second half of this pink card, I stamped Family Vacation, which is from Paper Person's Arrival Kit. Okay, now that we're done with most of the structure, putting the cards where we want them to be, I'm going to be adding embellishments, and I'm going to start off with adding a couple of labels. These are old Studio Calico to a couple of the photos. So I'm using the Ali Edward travel phrases from the 2018 collection, and this says coming home, and that was taken on my way back from the airport. And then I'm going to be stamping Bon Voyage on the other half of that label and adding it to the photo of my family at the airport. I did do a little test on the top part of this label sticker page just to make sure that it would dry and that I didn't need to use stays on for it. After I put the card in the pocket, I realized that I had not added the date, so I went and added it directly onto the photo. We're finally gonna work on the trip title card, and because of the yellow tones in the photo, I wanted a yellow card, so I pulled out all my yellow cards and I went with this watercolor card. I'm not sure where it's from, but I wanted to add an Eiffel Tower on it, and this is from Studio Calico's Paris stamp set. I'm using the stamping platform to make sure that I get the Eiffel Tower exactly where I want it on the card, and if I need to restamp the image, then I can go ahead and do that. I'm using Power Suit from Color Theory, which is by Studio Calico. It's so pretty. And the Paris word stamp is from Paper Person, and that is sold out. I added the dates of our trip on both sides of the Eiffel Tower. And now I'm going to work on the 6x8 photos. I'm going to have the photos outside of the page protector, which, spoiler alert, isn't a wise idea when you have a photo with a lot of dark colors. I'm going to adhere the photos back to back, and I'm going to use half of a plastic attacher sticker from Ali Edwards instead of punching holes through the photos. Because I'm only using one half of the attacher sticker, I need to add tape to the other side, and I use score tape to go ahead and adhere it to the other side of the photo. Now I'm just gonna figure out the order that I want to put things in the album. I thought about putting the Eiffel Tower second, but I decided that it wasn't see-through enough and I wanted to see the Eiffel Tower first. Next, I'm going to add the photos to the maps, but what I'm going to do is use these Citrus Twist little pocket pages for Instax, and I'm going to create some small pockets to put the photos in so that the photos aren't glued directly onto the map. The ATG gun was not good for adhering these pockets on to the map, so I went with score tape instead. I didn't want to continue adhering the pockets until I had figured out where I was going to punch the holes, so I checked against one of the page protectors and then I marked the spots and punched the holes. I wanted to include this photo of my family at the Mona Lisa, but I actually had to Photoshop out the security guard who was trying to get my niece out because she thought she had spent too much time in front. Yeah, I had to print it out later on and let it dry a little bit before I put it in the pocket. In that blank spot, I wanted to add Museum Visit, which is from the Paper Person Arrival Kit. I'm using the very old Kelly Perky sticky notes to add always a must see, also from the Arrival Kit, to the photo of the Mona Lisa. And I like this sticky note because it's got the soft pastel colors I've been using on this spread. I added the adhesive to the stamp part of the sticky note because I was going to be trimming off the part that was actually sticky. I'm stamping Beautiful from the Ali Edwards travel phrases directly onto the photo because I don't want to take anything away from this beautiful statue. These tabs are from Ali Edwards 2018 travel collection, and I'm adding them to the smaller inserts. This one says loving this adventure, and I did check that it would be a good placement for the photo on the back as well, and then I stapled it to secure it better using a tiny attacher. This green one says explore, and then the last one says travel. I got some thicker printable vellum, and I got some of the digital brushes from Everyday Explorers, and I can't just leave things well enough alone, so I modified some of them up just a little bit. And I printed duplicates because I was thinking that I wanted to fold the vellum over so that they would be a little less transparent. Some of the photos were a little busy, so I figured that I could use them being a little bit more opaque. But I wasn't sure which side of the photo the vellum was going to be on, so I wanted some that were right aligned and some that were left aligned. This cute little stamp is also from Everyday Explorers, and this is from the Passport Paris set. Okay, so my indecisiveness can be a little bit much at times, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you guys the final selections for each photo. For the photo of my brother recording the Eiffel Tower, I chose Soaking It All In, and that was from the My Places prompts. Since the vellum is cut a little bit longer than is actually going to show, I have a little back flap, and that's where I added the adhesive. And then I'm also stapling them with the tiny attacher so that the front will stay in place. So for the picture of my niece in front of the Emily in Paris building, I chose a scene on TV, and I put two stamps together to make the one. For the picture of us at the coffee shop, I actually created my own, so I grabbed the coffee mug from one of the stamp sets and then I typed in "taking a coffee break" in a similar font. For the picture of my dad, I put 3 stamps together. It's the one with the little camera, perfect photo spot, and then a little arrow. And the cute everyday explorers at the Louvre stamp actually ended up on this picture instead. Back to the front we go, and I'm going to be stamping Holiday Market on Vellum, and this stamp is from Paper Person's 34th and Herald Square stamp set, which is no longer available, and I'm using Stays On ink, and then I'm going to cut it down to size and then staple it onto the photo. The Instax photos were looking a little plain, so I added some writing onto them and then I put them back in their pockets. This corner is looking like it could use a little bit of love, so I pulled out some of my hearts. And I really like these mint ones. I believe they're from Ali Edwards. And I really love how well they go with the little one tag up at the top. So it's actually been almost 3 months since I first recorded the first part of January, and I'm now just getting around to adding the ephemera to these pages. I'm going to be adding the disco ball from Studio Calico, like I mentioned, and then I found a cute little wine glass, and then another one. And I'm using the Gold 2023, the Happy New Year, and the Hello 2023 from Paper Person, and this was from the December 2022 kit. I just adhered these with my Tombow permanent adhesive. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Here's a flip through. Let me know if you have any questions below. As I've mentioned before, I'm like the worst YouTuber, so make sure that you subscribe and you hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I post new stuff. I hope to see you guys soon. Bye!